Na 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 na. Got to get that feeling.
Hello, loves. What's going on? I have this amazing goddess who didn't fix her name, I see.
I tried, and it just wants to call me Susanne. I don't know.
I can't. Let me see if I can fix it. So funny.
That is funny.
Ah, there she is.
Oh, look at you. See that?
Ta-da!
Tech savvy you are.
Yes. So fun. So fun. So I have this beautiful goddess. Oh, and I have your information. Ta-da! So much fun. Yeah. So Susanne, we met at a story time, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay.
I was reading my book at, where was it? I forgot.
Over at the Arboretum, right? Yes.
Arboretum, yes. I was reading my book. Lindsay asked me to do story time, and we had a paint party, and you had your grandchildren there.
Yeah.
Right?
That was so fun.
That
Yeah.
was a while ago, right?
It was. Jeez. It had to be like what, like 4 years ago, probably?
Yeah, probably. And then we obviously became fast friends.
Yeah.
And then you did something at my house, right? Did you do a radio circle?
The IET, the angel healing. Yep.
Yes, you did that at my house.
Yeah.
With a group of goddesses.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we did something together at, where did we do that?
At Thrive, we would
Yeah.
film there.
Donated our time with that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yay. So here we are now.
Yeah, here we are.
Still having fun, still being spiritual, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So tell us, love. I know you wrote a beautiful short bio of your journey. Tell us from the beginning how your journey started, love.
So, wow. So I went through, the ringer, like I'm sure many people do. And I had an accident, which resulted with chronic pain and fibromyalgia and, a spinal injury. And
don't rush the story, love. We got plenty of time.
Yeah. Okay. So, I was working full time. I was taking care of 2 kids. I was doing a lot. And, this injury was it just sent me for a loop, because I've always been, I was in the Army. I've always been like, I can do anything. Nothing's going to hold me back. Nothing's going to stop me. But the pain just became unbearable, and it was constant, and it was just all the time. And, so I didn't know. I went to the doctors, and they gave me a bottle of pills, and I said, well, what ended up happening was like, well, these pills are not working, so they would give me something else and then add something else to that. And what ended up happening was each prescription that they gave me, and I do just want to preface this with, anything I say, I'm not bad talking doctors or the medical community or anything like that, because I'm totally responsible for myself and for everything that I went through, and it was for a reason. Right. But so every drug I went on, it had more side effects. The narcotics, was affecting my sleep. And then I was falling asleep during the day, and then they would give me something else. They would give me psych meds they do that to treat chronic pain. They give psych meds, and I'm a very sensitive person. So when you give me some type of drug, it really affects me in a negative type of way. Any side effect that, you could possibly have, they'll give you something for anxiety. And in me, it'll cause excessive anxiety. So, then back to the doctor, but that was all I was doing. Like, I would do physical therapy and this and that, and nothing was helping. And I just was convinced I was going to find, I wanted the easy way out of this. I wanted a pill that was just going to take away all the pain. And it just became worse and worse and worse. And, I'm sure there are people, who may see this, who can identify somebody in their life who might be going through this. And, and not that I fault anybody, but, looking back, some of the things I was doing, like I said, I was raising 2 children, and, you're not really cognizant when you're on all this medication.
Right.
And, it probably should have been addressed way before it was. But, when somebody's on those medications too, you can't really talk to them. It's, they can become I became very nasty and like, very guarded about what I was doing, because it was like, I thought that the medication was going to help me. I thought it was helping me, but all it was really doing was making me, in a daze. I always used to think of that song by Guns N' Roses, kind of like it in a coma, because it was like, I didn't want to feel anything. So that's what it became. They had prescribed a drug called Soma, and, it would just literally put you in a coma pretty much. And it wasn't even, it wasn't a controlled substance at the time. It was just a muscle relaxer, and, it wasn't a big deal. And, I think by the end, I was seeing a psychiatrist. I was, constantly going to the doctor. I think I was probably on like 7 prescriptions. I think I was on morphine, oxycodone, not Xanax, Valium, just so much stuff. Soma, probably like a psych med, something for nerve pain. I mean, it was like a garbage can,
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I was here alone with my kids, and I guess one night, I was overtaking the Soma, because it was just put you in such a, like, you didn't feel anything, like you didn't care. It was like, I don't care, because I'm not feeling anything. And I must have taken like 3. You're supposed to take 1. I took 3. And then I must have forgotten that I took them. And I don't even honestly remember. It was like, I probably took 3 more. And, it was really tragic for my kids. Like, my son found me passed down on the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
My daughter had got, a phone call. I can't imagine how she felt. My, how old was he? He was probably only about 8 years old at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's very mature. He always was. And he just called and was like, Christine, mom's, passed down on the kitchen floor, and I can't wake her up. So maybe you could help me, and this is the message that she got.
Right.
And it wasn't the first time that they had to come and help me. So this time he called my sister. I had all their numbers up there in case, anything happened. So he had called my sister, who, worked in the medical field. She used to be a paramedic and stuff. So this time she said, no, that's it. Called the ambulance, said possible overdose. So at this point they send the cops, and, it's done. It's over.
Right.
And then she lied. She told them I was threatening to kill myself with the gun that I didn't have. But,
Oh, my goodness.
whatever. And I think she thought I was going to be mad, but, I guess I'm grateful that at the point when my life crashes and burns that badly, I have the ability to look at myself and say, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? Like, this is
Right.
exactly what I needed to have happen. Like, you had your foot, and then you had your awakening, and I had this overdose, and I ended up in, it wasn't really a detox. It was pretty much like a psych ward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck getting out of there when you're crazy.
But you did it.
I did. I was in there, for a week, and they totally got me off of everything. And, at first I thought, wow, the pain is gone, but because they were cutting me back, so it was like they had me on Motrin and this and that, and it wasn't gone, So needless to say, I got out, and now it's like, well, I have to learn a new way, because obviously I can't do that.
Right.
And, my children were taken. They had to go live with my sister. And some people might say, oh my God, I've seen people go through that. And instead of like, doing the steps you have to do to get your kids back, it's all about, oh my God, I'm, feeling so bad for yourself, where you don't do what you have to do. And I'm like, No, I did everything I had to do. I didn't take any medication. I could have, but I was like, no, I'm just going to go off it all completely. I went, I was actually ordered to go to a Pedersen Craig, which kind of like irritated me a little bit, but
What is that?
it's like a group counseling thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like, I've never been a fan of that type of thing, but so I went, like I said, I did everything I had to do, and I met with the CPS lady all the time, and I would go see my kids every day. And, it's hard being in that position. And, anybody who's gone through that knows that when you're dealing with people who work in CPS, they can sometimes be less than compassionate with you.
Of course, yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're putting you in a little box that, that
Yeah.
you're a bad mom, and you're not. You're just doing the best you could,
Yeah. We turned a corner, her and I. So I was a correction officer, and we were talking one day. She was admiring my Ivy. It was like, oh, we have something now that, she's interested in. And so we started talking, and I was saying, yeah, I meant to take the probation officer test, but I had just missed it and blah, blah. And so she, I think, was actually a probation officer. So then, all of a sudden now, she was looking at me differently, more like a human being, like,
Right.
because, sometimes people in that field don't look at you like you're a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I did whatever I had to do to get my kids back, got my kids back. I started going back to the program, and, for me, everybody has their own way to do it, and I don't fault anybody who takes medication either. There's definitely, everybody has to do what works for them, but obviously it didn't work for me.
Right.
And the 12-step program, I can't say enough about it. Honestly, really, it saved my life. It works. They say in the rooms it works if you work it, and it's the truth. It's like if you do everything that they tell you to do, all the little suggestions, like I would do things that I didn't even really understand then, but it's the energetic intention of what I was doing and what I was saying. I didn't really know what my belief in God was, but one of the things is you have to have a higher power. So I would, my prayers would just be like, I don't know if I believe, I don't know what I believe. Please help me with my disbelief. Like the littlest things,
Yeah.
Please put the people in my life who I can help and who can help me. And just little things like that. And, and that's really where it started. And then, like I said, my kids came back, and, I was so grateful. And then, that wasn't an easy transition either. They were at my sister's for 7 months. So it was like they were having fun over there, and, but they came back, and, we had to learn a new way to be. And I ended up getting into the spiritual stuff. I'm trying to think who I met. I met Sarah Curley.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I actually met Jen Post first, and my friend recommended me to her to go do this, Reiki. She'd have the Reiki groups at her house. And, things just started shifting for me. And, it was like this whole, how everybody's connected. Everyone's connected. And I had made this basket for a fundraiser. And somehow I got it over there. There was a whole nother long story that goes with that. But I ended up getting to the fundraiser, and Sarah Curley had, it was one of those Chinese auctions. And so I put my thing in hers. It was for a spirit guide painting.
Okay.
And I kind of knew I was going to win, so I won it. And I went to her house, and she did this whole, channeled message, and she wrote this thing, and I was like in tears. I'm like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. It's just what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And then she had invited me to an event that they were having. I don't know if you know Cindy Salemi.
I don't think I know her.
She used to be on the island. She used to do a group out in Bethpage, and then they moved to Hicksville. Every week she would have, a spiritual class, and I started going to that, and I met all my, wizard friends. Everybody was a medium, and everybody was a psychic, and everybody was, an energy healer, and Cindy was actually a reconnective healer.
Okay.
And I did Reiki 1 with my 2 children, which was beautiful. They both were like game. They both came. And then my younger one kind of fell off. But the older one came, did Reiki 2 with me. And I went all the way. I did the Reiki master teacher. I taught 1 class, and I was like, well, I don't really know if this is for me, the teaching. I love Reiki. But then you know, Cindy did reconnective healing, and I was just like, to me, that really interested me. You know, it was different. I don't know if you know much about it, but it's like there's no rules, right? So it's
Right.
like very like, you know, I get really, it's almost like I'm doing a dance when I'm doing it. I used to do the groups at Thrive, and it was really fun, and it would be like, it was just such a great setting. And I mean, it just gets you in a state of, you know, altered state where healing can happen, you know. And I started learning about all this stuff, and about meditation. And, you know, for me, I'm very ADHD, you know, I'm like here, I'm there. And, you know, trying to do all these things, it was a lot of work for me, you know, just to try and sit. But I did it. And then, well, you can't really teach that reconnective healing unless you're Rob. So
Right.
I did, you know, you have to be that involved. And I, you know, I have other responsibilities. Um, and, you know, for me, I think a lot of the stuff with the fibromyalgia was trapped emotion. And, you know, Reiki deals with that. It does loosen that and releases it. But for me, I need to know exactly what's happening. I'm very like, I want to know exactly where is these emotions getting trapped, and how are they lifting from the body, and what's going on. So for me, the IET made a lot more sense, because, you know, they go through each place where the emotions get trapped and what emotion gets trapped there. And, you know, I actually did that through, you know, after COVID, I started with those classes. And of course I had to go all the way so that I could teach it. And, you know, because I just feel like I have to find a way to share this healing, you know, not that you're going to go out and you're going to, you know, you're going to do sessions like you do, but it's so good just even for yourself and your family. And, you know, I mean, this stuff works on babies. It's like, you know, my son, my little one, he resists it so much. His girlfriend was here, and he's got these injuries, and I'm like, let me just try, you know, I try and sleep with it. And he's like, just trying to do that Jedi stuff on me.
My son still won't let me eat either. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I know why, because when he was little, he wouldn't sleep. And this is why this is so good for young parents to learn. Because when I started with the Reiki, the kid would not go to sleep. And so, well, like, I investigated everything, oils, you know, anything under the sun I had to know about. Crystals. I have my little, you know, crystals here. So I, you know, I would use the oils on his feet, the ones that would help relax him. And then he'd be like, no, don't do the Reiki. I'm going to fall asleep. Literally, I'd put my hands at the bottom of his feet, and he'd be out in like, you know, maybe 3 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it really changed my life, and like really meeting all the spiritual people on Long Island. I mean, this is such a big group of people. We're really fortunate.
Amazing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there is like so many people, and it's great that you do this, that, you know, people can get introduced and hear what people do. And, yeah, so I just, you know, I just want to keep going with all of that. And, you know, like, I really had to take responsibility for myself, and I had to really keep things in the day, because like I said, the pain didn't really go away. You know, and I listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I'm convinced that I'm gonna, you know, I'm going to be pain free. You know, it hasn't happened yet, but you know, I always hold that. And I'm like, you know, I get really hard on myself. I'm like, what's blocking this? Why are you, you know? And I'm like, no, stop that. Just do what you could do to feel better in the moment. And I really just have to always keep it in the moment and the day. You know, and just keep it in the day. What can I do now to feel better? You know, if I'm, you know, if I'm sore, or if I'm not feeling good, you know, I have to really honor my body and say, you know, you can't do what you were doing when you were in the Army. You know, you can't. You know, I had to alter how I did things. You know, I remember going to the gym with my friend, and here I am still trying to like lift these weights. And it's like, what are you doing? You're not, you know, you're not training to be Miss Olympia, you know, because I would do too much, and then I would be more sore.
Right.
So the things that I, you know, even after all of that, the things that I was doing, you know, they weren't helpful because I was trying to do too much.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Especially you were in the accident, you know, and what happened in the accident? Like, were you in?
it was actually the stupidest thing ever. It was a slip and fall that just totally, and so I had I had neck surgery prior to that.
Okay.
So yeah, so actually when I fell on the tailbone, rolled back, snapped the neck, and I have a plate and like 6 screws in my neck.
Yeah.
So, it just, I have nerve pain from here to here. And, it just was so much. It was so overwhelming. And, even after that, I went through a whole nother ordeal with, medication. Like, it's really so important if you have loved ones that are on any type of mind altering medications to check in with them, like to make sure that what's going on with them is okay.
Yeah.
I had been on, so after I went off all the narcotics, I was on, it's called Topamax, or topiramate is the generic, and it's for nerve pain.
Right.
So it stops the signals, and it worked great for that. My nerve pain was gone, and I was on it for like 3-4 years or something like this. And then I started to like not be able to complete a thought. I would lose words. I really didn't know what was happening. I'm like, what is going on with my brain? I thought I was having like early onset dementia or something.
Right.
So like I couldn't focus. I couldn't, and there were some like long-term effects from that I'm still trying to clear.
Yeah.
So I had gone for cognitive behavioral therapy, and she just kept insisting, oh, this works better with medication. It works better with medication. And I'm like, me knowing how sensitive I am, I was very resistant, but I said, all right, I'll try it, against all better judgment. And, what happened was really, it was pretty bad. I was on something called Latuda, and she was really pushing this Latuda. The doctor, she really was. I'm like thinking, what kind of kickback she getting for that? But anyway, it made me like crazy. It made me suicidal, and like I called her, and I'm like, I'm not feeling really good on this stuff, and sight unseen, like didn't say come in, just double it, and I'm like, huh?
What? Oh my
Yeah, and because then now once your mind is not working correctly, and I'm saying, well, I know that people who see psychiatrists usually try to, do their own thing. I'm like, so let me listen to the doctor and do what they're telling me to do. And, I did it for a while, and I really became just a total wreck. And then they just would keep switching the medication, and one was worse than the one before.
Well,
I remember finally, right before I got off of that, and this was like 2018, 19. I was like this. I was like so anxious from, like I'm saying, this is like a medication that's supposed to help with these type of things. And I'm like, and somebody said to me, okay, so I ended up opening this sober house. I bought a house. I redid the whole thing through all of this medication nonsense with the psych meds and being out of my mind. I managed to buy a house. I collected donations. People were so generous. I set the whole house up for these women to come and live. I filled the house with women. And then I realized I really didn't know how to run a sober house.
oh no.
Yeah. So, but I can laugh about it. It's
Right,
like, it really wasn't good. Like they just ran right over me. Like they weren't paying. They were doing whatever they want. They were just wrecking the house. And I was like, I got to get out of this. And I called the real estate agent, and I'm a good manifester. That's one thing I'm like excellent. I called her and I said, just put it up for sale. And she goes, well, what about the girls? And I go, listen, I'm telling you right now, there's somebody who wants this house just the way it is with the girls in there. They want to have a sober house, and it's already done for them. And she looked at me like I was out of my mind. And I go,
Right.
no, trust me. So she's like, okay. So 2 weeks later, here comes the knock at the door, and I see the guy coming in with the tape measure, and I go, this is the man. I know it. And sure enough, he ended up going to her office, through, another agent.
Right.
And she heard that he was wanting to open a sober house, and she's like, oh, I have a house for you. So then she didn't think I was so crazy anymore.
Right.
But listen, through that whole thing, I couldn't talk to anybody because I knew what I wanted to have happen.
Right.
But I wouldn't speak to anybody about it, because if you imagine me telling people that, well, I'm going to find somebody who's going to want to buy the house with all these girls in it, they would have, people, this is what they do. I always say, just make your plans and do it, and don't tell people until after, because they just want to tell you all the things that could go wrong.
Right.
I'm sure, a lot of the people we hang around with don't do that, but general
Right,
public,
prior to that, yeah.
yeah, it's just, oh,
It
well, whatever.
happened to me when I was selling my house.
Yeah,
The real estate lawyer told me, "You're not gonna be able to do it," and I
yeah,
was like, "You're fired."
yeah,
She was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "No one tells me I can't do it. I'm gonna do it."
that's,
Click.
yeah, that's right. Because like, I honestly know for a fact, 100% that whatever it is that you want in life, you can do it, you can attract
Right.
it, you could be it, you could have it. The only thing that stands
You
in your
gotta
way is,
believe.
yeah, is listening to other people and doubting.
Right, right.
You just have to live in that and know that it's going to happen. And I actually got extremely lucky because I closed on that deal February before they locked people down in March.
Mm,
And so I had decided after that to really take a step back from the world and examine, like, what are you doing that this is what happened after everything that you went through. Well, I didn't know that it was the initial cause of needing the cognitive behavioral therapy was that medication. So with the psych meds, I just, my son, he goes, just stop taking them. And I go, yeah, that's a good idea. And I just stopped taking all of them. And then somebody, actually one of the girls in the house who, obviously had a lot of experience with medication, said that thing with your brain, she goes, that's from that Topamax. And
yeah,
then, yeah, and then I looked it up and I was like, wow, there's like people suing this company because their mind is like gone from it.
yeah, yeah,
And then I started thinking, like, this doctor never even asked me if I was on any other medication, like,
yeah, that's
never looked for side effects. But I'd had that happen to me before when I was in the army. So I should, but you can't say, oh, I should have, because by that time my mind was pretty gone. But so I kind of try to steer clear of medications. I'm, like I said, I'm very sensitive and I just have really, bad reactions from it. And usually the natural route is the best for me.
yeah,
I tried the CBD, I've tried the THC, and it just always ends up being like this habitual thing that you have to keep getting and doing. And I'm not, I just feel like the outside substances just don't work after a while. It's like
I
you have to
agree,
just,
I agree, yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, THC can help. Why? Because it's like you just don't care. You're like, I just don't care about it. So is it really helping, or is this just shifting your mind to this, and it has,
numbing,
yeah,
numbing, yeah,
numbing, exactly. And it has really, negative effects.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's where I'm at now. It's just very, I'm just trying to like really get away from anything like that and really focus on the healing and trying to, teach other people that even if it's like you don't have to get off of all of your medication if you have chronic pain, but if it's affecting your life, there are other ways to
Right,
help your pain.
yeah,
You could take less, you could do other things. I had to change my working out. I mostly just use bands now, you know, um, because like I said, I don't know limits. I'm gonna just keep lifting more and more and more, like I'm gonna be, in a competition.
yeah,
But it's not good. So, that's my life lesson, is to learn balance, in all things.
in all things, yeah, and
Yeah.
when you're so sensitive too, I'm the same way. I don't do drugs or drink either, but, my addiction was food.
Okay. Yeah.
Sugar was my addiction, but I just had surgery 3 weeks ago, and they prescribed me they sent CVS sent me a thing, "Oh, your prescriptions are ready," the day before surgery, and I was like, "Oh," and, they prescribed Oxy, and I was like, I can't do that,"
Yeah.
it makes me loopy. So I did it for the first day, and I did something that was not sunshiny. I was like, "Whoa, that was
Yeah.
not sunshine," and I immediately threw them out.
Yeah, because those drugs, they start to like own you, because it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you know, like not everybody's going to become an alcoholic. You really
Right.
have to have that allergy, they say, to alcohol. But, you know, with narcotics, your body just becomes accustomed to them. And you can't just stop taking them because, I mean, you can, but you're going to get really sick and, you know, you're not going to feel good. And, you know, some people do have like weird reactions to them. They're not, in my opinion, you know, I'm just glad that you know, I got off of them. I'm not sorry it took what it took because quite honestly,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what made you who you are
yeah,
today.
and like everybody, it made my kids like who they are. You know, they learned that people can have these things, trials and tribulations happen and, you know, end up in this terrible place and recover, you
Yeah.
know, and family can be there for you, you know, and you know, they had to switch their schools. So they had to, you know, they were little kids in elementary school
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
had to be strong and be, you know, adaptive to all of that. And you know, they did a great job and they don't hate me, you know.
They
Um,
love you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's amazing because I tell this to my people all the time. We chose this life, you know, we chose exactly what happened to us.
yeah,
And, you know, before we even came into this life, our souls, right? And
right.
even your kids, you know, they
Yeah,
it's their journey. We can't save them. We can't protect them from,
no,
you know, what's happening in their world because it's supposed to be happening to them, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's amazing because I mean, they're great kids, you know. My younger son was, you know, on the football team the whole time. You know, he's so dedicated, and you know,
Yeah.
my older son, like I said, did all the healing. He used to come to Thrive with me like every
Oh, I
Sunday
remember that. Yeah.
and do the groups, and he would do healing for people. And I'm like, he would they're I haven't been to it in a while, but they used to do a you know, it was a Reiki share for people who were going through cancer treatment. And
Okay.
he would come and he was a little kid, you know, and he would come and he would do Reiki on these people. And you know, it was really a beautiful thing to see him doing that at such a young age, wanting to just give like that.
Yeah.
And he actually, after the reconnective healing seminar, there was this woman who was doing the reconnective healing for animals, and she's like, yeah, but it's all the way in Chicago. She's like, who's going to come there for that? And I go, I will.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, and I'll bring my son too. So he came with me. He was probably only like 12 years old. To, you know, went to Chicago with me. We went to this farm in the outskirts, and we, you know, spent 2 days, you know, working with the animals and stuff. And yeah, so through all of that, you know, I mean, it really opened me up to a whole nother world, you know, that I needed to be opened up to. I mean, you know, all those spiritual gifts, I believe that we all have them when we can stop the noise in our heads and we can quiet down and connect with nature and connect with ourselves. We're all psychic, we're all intuitive,
Yep.
you know, we're all telepathic. We really all are. And you know, the thing of it is most people don't think they are. So they wouldn't even attempt to do these things, you know, like
Yeah.
you know, connect telepathically, which all of my kids are pretty good at that. They
Yeah.
they, they have that Jedi mind trick, you know, when they want something, they just kind of like, and you know, they know I'm very receptive, so they get what they want. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's all good. And when I was younger, um, you know, I had all that. Like I just used to just know stuff, and you know, I've always just like known stuff. I don't know how I know, you know, now I know, but but I shut that all down, you know, for whatever reason. I don't
We
know what
all did.
happened.
Every
Yeah,
single one of us.
it's
Yeah.
so strange. Like we just shut it down. And
Well, it gets shut down by
yeah,
everybody else, you
yeah.
know?
People say, you know, oh, what are you talking about? What are you know? But it's interesting. It's been interesting. And you know, I love to learn, you know, I can never get enough. You know, I'm a forever student. You know,
Uh,
I keep taking classes. I do classes online. I love to just share with people, you know, and for me, you know, it could be anything. It could be a stranger in the store, and it's like, you know, just having a conversation with somebody. And you know, you got to be willing to do those things, you know, to just be uplifting. You know,
yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I've been through my times where, you know, I don't want to be bothered, you know, but that's when I was just so focused on myself and my, you know, and feeling sorry for myself and whatever, but this way of living is so much better. It's so
Yeah.
much better. There's so much magic in the world, as you
It's
know.
beautiful.
Yeah, so
I
many.
talk to my granddaughter every day, not,
Yeah,
you know, telepathically, I do it, and my
right.
son will call me and I'll go, "She just sat down and had a big pout on her face," and I said, "What happened?" And he goes, "She said, 'I want sunshine to come play with me.'"
Yeah. So they're very receptive, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
get that transmission. And then, well, people still do get the transmission. So, I tell people all the time, I go, when say you're driving in your car, now this is the time when people will get messages from their loved ones in spirit and just not really realize that that's what they're doing. A memory of, say, your dad or your friend who's in spirit will just pop into your head.
right,
And I'm
or
like,
a
that's them
song.
saying, yeah,
Yeah,
that's them saying hello, because
yeah,
you weren't thinking about them. You weren't searching for a memory, right? That's how they trigger this in you. It's all energetic transmissions, and our whole body has receptors. We were not going to get into the whole Joe Dispenza of it, and how all the spinal fluid is like the conductor. I mean, but it's all really interesting stuff for anybody who wants to develop those things, because we have them. Our body is amazing. It's an amazing, transmitter and receiver of information. You
yeah.
know,
Well,
it's
tell us. I'm
yeah.
sure people would like to know.
Well, I mean, if you actually want to develop, the best thing that you can do to begin with is to just really sit in silence and learn about your own energy. See how your energy feels. And then if you really want to connect with a loved one, you get in that state. And the easiest way is to just really just focus on your breath, keep bringing it back to your breath. And I was watching Charlie the Healer, and he did this little exercise where he's like, just keep focusing on your breath and my voice. And he has you picture like a dot in the middle of your head. And he's like, now see it from the inside. And so you're just like looking. So this, putting your eyes up, you did the hypnosis, so that brings you to like a hypnotic state when you're having your eyes up. So
Yeah,
you're doing that, and you're breathing, and you're getting into this hypnotic state. And then a good way to do it for people to begin, if they're wanting to connect with a loved one, is to ask them, when you're relaxed like that, to send a feeling to your heart. And just keep saying it, just please send me a feeling to my heart, and you'll feel the energy shift.
yeah.
you know,
It's
or if you just, for your own self, to get intuitive information, ask,
yeah,
you know everything. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I said, if because we work with the chakras and everything, where's my little pendulum? Like, you can check your chakras with your pendulum. You just,
right.
so for anybody who doesn't know how to use a pendulum, or you could just even use a necklace. You ask it a question that you know the answer to, and you figure out which way is yes and which way is no. It'll just start moving, and you have to trust it. And on the full moon, sometimes it like really moves, because
Tonight.
yeah, the energy is so palpable. And then you can just, you go in front of each chakra and to see if it's balanced or not. So yeah, my third eye is good because it's going the way it is.
Right.
And I was telling her, I said, just little things. It's all about spiritual hygiene. It's about daily little things that you don't have to do everything every day, but you have to, make some kind of attempt to take care of your energetic body,
Yeah,
you know. And I said, ask, if it's maybe an oil that will help you, just, get into a meditative state and say, what oil would be good for me to work with? What oil might help me today? And listen, you might hear it. You might see lavender plants. You might, whatever it could be. You might see a rose, which I hope you don't see that, because rose oil is super expensive. Um, but you got to trust it. You got to trust that when you ask, whatever the first thing is that comes into your mind, it's true. That's information that you're receiving. You're not making it up. It's not, and what happens is people, they do start to get into their left brain, and they're like, well, did I just make that up, now you just lost the connection.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
When I do the hypnosis, I have them, imagine. I said,
mhm,
imagine your loved one walking
yeah,
toward you. And
yes,
all of a sudden the loved one is there. And
right.
then I have them hug them and tell them to listen. I go listen to the messages
Yeah,
and I'll say, and then tell me what they're saying.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and they will, and then they'll say, "Tell what do you wanna tell them?" And they start speaking to me. I go, "No, they're right in front of you."
yeah, yeah.
Um, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, that's it, that because people don't realize that your loved ones are thought away.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
ancestors, the ancestors have been coming up a lot this week, so, maybe that's something that your viewers can explore too. It's like, the ancestral healing is big, and, some people think that that's like, "Oh, my parents were terrible, and, I have to do all this healing because of, what my ancestors did to me," and it's like, no, it's not that. It's like, but my parents both grew up in the depression, and it's like there are some things that, I mean, they've shown that these traumas
yeah,
they're passed on in the DNA,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And so when you heal those things within yourself, even if you already have children that are living,
Mhm.
that DNA, their DNA is still connected to you, right?
That's
So as you're healing, they're healing, and you're healing your ancestors because
yeah,
we're all connected.
yeah,
So it's a beautiful thing, and it's nothing against them. We all
yeah,
have our things we go through for reasons. I went through the addiction to learn that how strong I am, how much support there is out there, that, to learn patience and tolerance of people in the position of the child late, the
right.
CPS woman,
Yeah, yeah,
and, the counselors at the hospital who maybe weren't so nice. And it's like, I had to say, well, they probably deal with a lot of people who are struggling with addiction can, have a lot of negative traits that it's hard to, those are defense mechanisms too, the lying and
right,
stuff
yeah,
like this.
the medicine's doing it for you.
Yeah, and the medicines and you just have to realize that those people deal with that all day long. I mean, I was a correctional officer, but I didn't think I took it home with me, but it changes you when you work in that environment all the time,
Yeah.
you're always on guard because, it's just a whole nother
Defense
element.
yeah, defensive medicine, I call it.
Yeah, yeah. So you can't take things personally. It's like,
No.
they're just trying to get by like everybody else. And I've had some people do some really, really terrible things. And I just, I don't get angry. And I'm not gonna say never get angry, but I think about it and I try to put myself in their shoes and say, where are they coming from? And if it's something like so horrendous, I mean, I just go home and send them healing, honestly.
That's what I do,
Yeah, I
yeah.
send them love, and I'm like, obviously they're behaving in this way because there's something in them that needs to be healed, or they wouldn't be treating me so horribly.
Yep,
And
yep.
and that's it. And I just really always try to come from a place of love now, and understanding and compassion. And I sound like an angel, right? Where are my angel wings? They're over there. But
Ah!
no,
You
but
are an earth angel, love. But
yeah,
but sending it's important that you healed yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that took a long time. And sometimes I feel like people can be a little bit hard on themselves and they want, so if you listen
Instant
to,
gratification.
yes, and if you listen to Joe Dispenza, some people have that, and great, that's awesome for them. And, for me, that wasn't my experience. And I often say that, when I first started this, I was walking with a cane. You know what I'm saying? Like one side of my body the muscle was atrophied from walking with a cane. So I've come a long way,
Yeah.
and I have to remember, it's the peeling the onion. It's the peeling the onion. And then you think it's gone. And then, because there's a lot of stuff that was buried. If it all came up at one time, it wouldn't be the best thing, so we have to sometimes release slowly,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and just deal with things as they come up and be willing to release them. It's like the whole thing with the trapped emotion. It's like people do it all the time. People stuff laughter. I mean, like, oh, I can't laugh out loud. Why? Laugh, or I don't want to cry. And they stifle those tears and that emotion. And it's becoming lodged in your body now, like little spots of. And when you start doing the energy healing, like you go over someone's aura and you can feel the spots that are dense. They're
Right.
denser. And what happens with the energy healing, and this I really learned this whole part from the Seven Sacred Flames. I love that book. Sarah Curley turned me on to that book. And, me and Deborah Ingrassi, I don't know if you know her, we do
Yeah, yeah.
classes on it. Yeah, we do classes on the Seven Sacred Flames. And I tell everyone, you could get the book and just read it at home, or you could come to the class where we've kind of picked out a lot of things, that we like and stuff. And then we do the healing for like a half an hour. So it's great. But what I learned from that book is like, because I have to know how things work. It drives me crazy, like on the, molecular level. I want to know what's going on. How is this working? So the light, it like speeds up the electrons and it lightens them, and then the stuff can go out, and then you just fill it back up with different light.
Right.
It's just amazing. It's just there's so much good stuff out there that really, honestly, I feel like they should teach kids in school. And obviously that doesn't happen. But you say, you have your granddaughter, so you have so much you can share with her.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I had a guest a couple of weeks ago that she's a teacher and she's doing stuff in the classroom, meditation and teaching them how
yeah.
to breathe, and it's okay to make mistakes, but yeah, Reiki should be part of.
Yeah, that's great. My granddaughter was in my one and only Reiki class I did. She, so she did her Reiki 1, but she does, she does reconnective healing too. And she,
Right.
she's there doing it, and she's teaching her sister. And I mean, and that's how it is. It's like one person, and then
Yeah,
you have to pass it on.
the ripple.
Exactly. I mean, and just be easy with yourself, I mean, and with addiction, a lot of times people fall, and, like whether it's food or, there are so many addictions. Like I believe everybody has some type of addiction,
Every single one of us. Every
yeah.
single one of us.
And I mean, if it's not like affecting your life in a negative way, if you're not like spending all your family's money on food while you're out binging, I mean, is it really affecting you in a negative way? But if you decide you want to change now, and then it's like day 3, all of a sudden you're right back where you started, it's okay. Just get up and dust yourself off and get right back on it. I mean, like the program, for people who do the program, I used to do a meeting up at St. Charles, and the girl, in the detox, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I tried AA and NA, blah, blah, blah. And I go, what did you try? Because I could be very blunt with people who I know are bullshit me.
Right, yeah.
But I go, what did you try? You came and you sat in a chair for 10 minutes and you went out for a cigarette. I know, because you can't lie to me, because I know what people are thinking.
We know.
Yeah, I know what's happening. There's no lying here. And and I'll say you just have to give yourself completely to the program. And they even say that in there. And it's like, everybody will recover if you do what they say. It's the instructions. It's basically a spiritual awakening, those 12 steps.
Yeah.
And if you do them and you clean house and you get rid of all the gunk and you fill yourself up with the sunlight of the spirit, you're going to be fine. You're not going to need that drug, because you're going to be complete, and it really works. And, I say that, I'm like, you have to do what they say. You have to get it. For anybody who, is considering that, do what they say, get a group, become involved. When I first went into that program, I got a group, made the coffee, went to a meeting every day. I had the time. My kids weren't here. I did what I had to do, and that's it. You just don't look backwards, because you have to remember. And they say, remember your last drug or drink or whatever it was that was so bad, because you don't go there because your life is great. So if it ever looks like a good idea, it's like, what's the worst thing that ever happened to me, when I was doing that thing? And if you keep that, when you think, oh, it might be a good idea, and you say, because some people it's life or death, I mean, even sometimes food could be life or death. If it's sugar or if it's salt, it could be, could really be life or death. So, you got to keep those things in your mind and say, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
you know, because we have that forgetter, you know, we're like, oh, but that sugar looks so good. And I've been a sugar addict too. I think my mom kept a baby book, and my first sentence she wrote was, that I said was, give me the sugar.
I can't.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's
Yeah,
so good, right?
I was really bad with the sugar. I was really
Yeah.
bad.
And my granddaughter's, she goes through that now. And, I don't want to be such a killjoy. Like, she's a kid, but like, she just wants sugar upon
Yeah.
sugar upon sugar.
Yeah.
And I just can't do it anymore. I'm like, listen, no. She says to me, I take her to Port Jeff, and she wanted these something from Dunkin' Donuts. They were bagel bites. Okay, I said, okay, fine. It's not the healthiest thing, but at least it's not sugar. So
Right.
we go in there, and I'm getting her that. And she goes, well, can I get a donut too? And I go, yeah, no, nice try. And she goes, well, I just figured I'd try it on you and see if it worked.
Yeah, no, I stay away from the sugar. I need to, because
Yeah,
it's like a snowball effect.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I did that too. Like, so when I was on all that medication, I wasn't eating food. I
Right.
was just like eating a gallon of ice cream at night. So all these pills and then a gallon of ice cream. Like, I mean, seriously, I ate so much ice cream. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
And, it's not good, because that's not good for pain either. It just
Right.
causes more
Oh,
inflammation. And,
yeah.
but like I said, it's like I didn't do it all overnight. You know what I mean? With like the food, I hardly eat like any packaged food anymore. I pretty much cut it all out. Um, one of the last things I used to eat was these Belvitas. I would eat them every day. And
Oh,
then something happened. They're just like packaged crackers,
okay.
processed stuff. And all of a sudden one day I just couldn't eat them anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, the packaged food, it's toxic,
Yeah.
but I would, um, I don't know if you know Jen Feldman, but she does like nutritional count. You do know Jen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she does, I went to a session with her for the nutrition, and she's like, just take away one bad thing, even if it's one bad thing a month,
Yeah.
and try to add one, or as many good things as you can. Like, don't try and do it all overnight,
Change
because
change the habits. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, got to change the habits. Like, I know sometimes people will, my niece, she got this thing. It was like, total detox or something. It was like so over the top. Like, I don't even know, drinking apple cider vinegar and not eating anything. It was like really scary. And I imagine that if you tried to do that, you maybe do it for 3 days and you just be like, forget it and go back. But when
And
you,
then you gain more weight back.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
That
when you,
you
like you're
already
saying, you change your habits slowly,
had slowly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it becomes more of like a lifestyle
Yeah,
change,
exactly.
instead of, I'm just getting off of this sugar, or I'm just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's like,
because it took us all these years to learn these bad habits,
yes,
So when you unlearn them and start new habits, better habits, that's when,
right.
it's now someone shows me sugar, I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't eat that type of stuff,
Yeah.
and that was something
I
I
say I'm
was,
allergic. I go, no, thank you, I'm allergic.
yeah,
And
I
they
mean
go,
that it's,
oh, you're allergic? I go, yeah, it makes me fat.
yeah, yeah. Well, because it also like changes the way, like, if you're like, no, I can't have that. It's like, no, I'm choosing not to have that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Marissa Peer is another person I love. So I'm always seeking out people who are awesome, and she's a hypnotist. Do you know her? Or
I
you
don't
know of her?
I don't think so.
She's an Australian hypnotist, and she has this rapid transformation hypnotherapy. But she has a lot of free videos on YouTube. And I don't even know what I was going to say about that, but she's really good. Oh, about the have to. Like, I don't really love to go to the supermarket. But so she's like, when you don't like to do things, she's like, don't think of it like, oh, I have to do this thing that I don't like
Right,
to
right.
do. She's like, why are you doing it? So
I
I was
get
like,
to go to the grocery
yeah,
store.
yes, I'm choosing to. Why? Because I love my children and I want to nourish them. So it's
Right.
like you have to just change your words. Like, she's like, people will say this commute is killing me and this is torture. And she's like, don't use those words,
Right.
just
Yeah. It's
because it's,
important.
yeah, it really, really is. It really is. And, the more I read and the more I research, um, it's like what you say and what you think and what you feel, just absolutely, this, it absolutely creates your reality 100%. That's why when something happens in my life that's not to my liking, well, you did that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
laugh. I
yeah,
had I had a day the other day where one thing after the other, and I was like, "You're not gonna get me in a bad mood. I'm just
yes.
gonna keep going. I'm keeping going," you know?
Yeah.
And
I listened to Abraham, and Abraham is like, see, I don't agree with Abraham on this point. It's like, if you're in such a state and something, you can't just turn it around like that. And I'm like, I can, because I'm like, I know how detrimental like a bad mood or can be. And it's like, I literally put on that. I still use that walking out sunshine. I still use
I love
that
it.
song or any music that, will pump me up.
Yeah, raise your vibration.
Yeah, and that's what it's always about. It's like, what can I do to raise my vibration? What can I do to feel better? Like today I was out in my backyard. I took my shoes
Wow,
off. I'm
gorgeous.
walking, grounding. I'm soaking up the all the rays of the sun, but like with the intention, like, let me, and I can feel it charging
Oh,
me,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and the seven sacred flames, like that's the energy of creation. Like the sun has each and every one of those rays, and
Yeah.
they all serve a different purpose, and they're all wonderful, and we all have access to them, and we can use them every single day. So anybody who wants to heal, I would encourage them to look into that too, healing with light. And it's just your intention. It's like all of these healing modalities. Like, I really want people to understand how easy it is. It's like, you don't have to. I took a 5-day thing in Philadelphia to do the reconnective healing. And, I did all these Reiki classes and all these IET classes. And you don't have to do that if you just want to heal yourself.
Yeah.
You can just sit and just connect with your own energy, and just say, heal. I want to heal. I want to heal. I'm healing. And it happens if you believe in angels. Ask to connect with an angel, and it's that intention that sends that out to them. Like, I do believe in angels, and they're not going to help you unless you ask. Like, they have that
That's right.
separation, that they're not going to infringe upon our lives unless we ask.
Yeah.
And I have had amazing things happen, like I'm sure you have, like the synchronicities that happen when you start to open yourself up to
Mm.
the universe and the things that are around us.
Yeah.
Things just work out when you stay positive and you keep your vibration elevated. And that's just staying in love and compassion and gratitude.
For
Whenever
yourself.
what was that?
For yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's like somebody says you can't feel grateful and like angry at the same time. Like, you can't feel those two things
Right,
at the same time. And another like simple thing that I learned was, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their head, worrying about the future, which is going to give them anxiety, or, dwelling over the past, which is going to put them in depression. And so
right.
it's like, if anybody who might listen to this ever finds themselves, like, the simplest way to get out of that is to just bring yourself back to the breath, because you're breathing in, out. It's now. It's always right now, and that's really where we should stay as human beings. That's where we're most productive and most happy. Um,
Right now. Right at
yeah,
this moment.
right
Yeah.
in the now. That's all there is, right? There's not anything other than right now. Yeah, I mean, you could get really out there, and it gets a little, the whole timeline thing. People get crazy about it, but I try to just keep things simple.
Yeah.
What can I do to feel better now if I don't feel good?
At this
Because
moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it has a lot to do with nature, and just, there's so many things you can do to feel better. I have my aura sprays here, and spray my aura, and just Florida water. It's so good.
Yeah.
It just, it just like really, it just clears things. Um,
I love the breath and just saying, I am love.
Yes.
I say it 3 times. I do the breath, and then I just say, "I am love, I am love, I am love."
Yeah. And we all are love,
Yep,
I mean,
that's right.
that's what that energy that we're created from, it's love,
Yep,
I mean, it really is. And the creator gives us every day, again, I'm telling you, I love that book, from the Seven Sacred Flames. It's like you have an unlimited amount of electrons to create with every day.
yeah.
So how do you want to create, with
So you're
love?
teaching that class?
Yeah. Yep.
So how can they get in touch with you if they wanna take that course with you, love?
I have it listed on my Facebook, which is right there,
Okay,
Suzanne B. Johnson. It's actually pinned on my page, or they could message me. Anybody could always reach out to me. Yeah, but it talks about that a lot. It's like you can create with love or with fear. So what do you want to create with? We know what fear is going to get us. It's not going to get us what most
nowhere.
people want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
get you something, but usually not what you want.
Oh, yeah.
It'll get you something and you'll be like, how did this happen? And it just creates this snowball.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, but keeping it simple, keeping it in the day, music, walking, breathing, the little I am love, these things really work. And it's just you're voicing it and say it out loud, say it
Yep,
out loud.
yep.
I used to say these little prayers, but I would be like, in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
head,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I'm hiding in the corner. Like, why? No, this is what who I am. This is why I'm hiding,
Yeah,
you know?
I do it in the grocery store. If
Mhm.
somebody, has a comment to say to me, under their breath, I'll just start singing "You Are My Sunshine" to
Yeah,
them. And now their energy shifts immediately. They're like,
yeah,
"This girl is
yeah,
amazing,"
yeah.
because
Yeah, because sometimes people like I go dancing around the supermarket and people
yeah,
will some
me too. Yeah,
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 if I have my headphones and a good song comes on, I'm like, "Oh," and then
yeah,
and
yeah,
then somebody will walk down the aisle and they'll just start laughing, but they're laughing kind of, they think it's funny, but
whatever, as long as they're laughing.
yeah, I mean, if I
Now I
have to
have my scooter, I have this bell that I'm ringing everywhere I go.
I love that.
It's so funny.
I love it. It's like ching, 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 ching. It cracks me
Yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
every time. Yeah, you spread love and sunshine, and that's awesome. That's like, imagine what we could do if everybody,
Had
even
a
just for,
bell.
yeah, if I had a bell, exactly. Or even just for one 10 minutes, if everybody focused on love.
Yeah,
Imagine, it's like what we could create in this world. So it's like I know there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and it's like people just have to hold steady and hold fast to
yeah,
keeping yourself right, keeping your vibration high and coming from a place of love. I mean,
yeah.
I see how horrible people can be to each other online, and it's like, oh my goodness, like would you say that to somebody in person? It's like,
I don't even
so
pay attention to anything.
yeah, so it's like just
I'm in my own little love bubble.
yeah. Well, you have to be, and I just encourage people not to participate in that, and to just, the more we can all focus on a world that we want to live in. Like I wrote something on Facebook the other day, like just as we create for ourselves with our thought and our words, our group consciousness creates the world we live in.
Right.
You know, so it's something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told us a lot, love, and thank you. I appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me.
Yeah, it's fun, fun, fun.
Very fun. And anybody has any questions or needs to learn about recovery, I'm always available to talk to anybody about that. Resources. I know a lot of resources. So don't be afraid to reach out. You can find me on Facebook.
Yeah,
Um,
and
yeah.
you're an excellent resource also.
Yes. Yes. I know a lot. I know a lot about a lot of things. Um,
Yeah, so reach out to her. Reach out if anybody has any questions or do you still offer the energy healing and stuff?
I'm actually going to be offering live healings in Selden at Balance for Life. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I do the classes there as well.
Oh,
The
beautiful.
IET classes. Yeah. And I would offer, like, some people don't want to, they maybe feel intimidated to do a class like with a bunch of people. So I even offer private classes. That's fine. Or if you're a person who just wants to learn about energy healing like, honestly, it works on babies. Like, if you have a crying baby, like, it will work on a crying baby. And I would be more than willing to just do one session to, just to help people learn about energy healing and how easy it is to do. It works with dogs. I mean, like, it works with everything. It works with plants. It works with the earth. So,
Right.
I'm always open to do just like one session for that, or the classes, whatever it is people need.
Beautiful.
And if I don't know how to do it, I know, like I said, I know a lot of people in the spiritual community who do classes and who do healings, and yeah.
Mary just asked,
Mhm.
what is IET?
Integrated energy therapy. So it's healing with the angels, and it focuses on removing specifically trapped emotions. So
That's
when
basically what I do too. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's good stuff. Good
Good
stuff.
stuff. Good stuff. Mine's a little different, so I call it purple love.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with the healing. That's the
Yeah,
purple that,
everybody has. Yeah.
yeah, because the IET, the ray that they use is the purple. The
Yeah.
purple, it's the purple. It's very transmuting.
Yeah. Violet, violet.
Yes. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Well, thank you so much, love. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. If anybody has any questions for Suzanne, reach out, reach out, reach out. She's amazing. Really enjoyed the show. Yay. I'm so glad you did that, love. All right. We're
All
gonna
right. Thank you.
everybody be happy, be healthy, be wealthy, be free.
That's it. Happy, joyous, and free, baby.
Yay!
This is the moment we've been waiting for. Feel the right in the world of that for sure. Na 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 na. Got, get that.